What is the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act, UMRA? Have you ever wondered how federal requirements can impact state and local governments? The Unfunded Mandates Reform Act is a key piece of legislation that addresses this issue. Enacted in 1995, this law aims to limit the federal government's practice of imposing mandates on state, local, and tribal governments without providing the necessary funding to cover the costs. These mandates can include regulations, standards, or programs that these lower levels of government must comply with, often straining their budgets. So, what exactly is an unfunded mandate? It is a federal requirement that imposes enforceable duties on state, local, or tribal governments, or even the private sector, without offering federal funds to cover the associated costs. This means that governments or private entities may be compelled to take certain actions or face restrictions without any financial support from the federal level. The goals of the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act are quite clear. First, it seeks to strengthen the partnership between the federal government and state, local, and tribal governments. This is done by ensuring that mandates are fully considered and funded before being imposed. Second, it aims to prevent the displacement of other essential governmental priorities at the state and local level due to unfunded federal requirements. Lastly, it requires Congress and federal agencies to assess the financial impact of mandates and consider alternatives before imposing them. In practical terms, the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act requires that before Congress enacts legislation or federal agencies issue regulations that include mandates costing above certain thresholds, they must provide cost estimates and consider less costly or less burdensome alternatives. This process promotes fiscal responsibility and respects the principle of limited government by preventing federal overreach into state and local affairs without accountability. From a Republican perspective, the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act serves as an important tool to curb bureaucratic overreach. It helps ensure that the federal government does not impose costly regulations on states and localities without providing funding. This aligns with conservative values that emphasize reducing federal intrusion and preserving state sovereignty. The Act supports the idea that state and local governments should not bear the financial burden of federal mandates, which can lead to inefficient spending and undermine local priorities. Overall, the Unfunded Mandates Reform Act acts as a safeguard against unfunded federal mandates. It promotes fiscal discipline and respects the autonomy of state, local, and tribal governments by requiring federal accountability and funding for mandates imposed on them. This aligns with conservative values advocating for limited government and responsible federalism.